This is a Fox News alert. The debt ceiling deadline quickly approaching, and President Obama now planning to meet with Treasury Secretary Jack Lew tomorrow afternoon. And tonight's House leadership ordering pizza after canceling an expected vote on a new proposal to avoid default and reopen the government. The GOP plan would have eliminated Obamacare exemptions for members of Congress and the Obama administration. That was known as the Vitter Amendment in the Senate. And joining us, Senator David Vitter and Congressman Ron DeSantis, of course, who has sponsored this in the House. But first to you, Senator Vitter, what exactly was your amendment? What were you seeking to do?
Two things. First of all, get rid of this illegal Obama administration rule that created a special exemption or subsidy for members of Congress.
Which came about in early August, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's contrary to the statute. In my opinion, completely illegal, no basis in the Obamacare statute. Then in addition, we would have expanded that and applied it to the president and the vice president and political appointees in the administration. The idea is simple, Greta. What Washington passes for America, it should live with itself. What's good for America is good for Washington, and our personal interests should be completely aligned with those of the American people, the people we represent.
Congressman, what are the benefits that that supposedly Congress was getting different from everybody else?
So basically, the statute put members of Congress and staff in the Obamacare exchanges. The idea was this law is going to cause people to lose their employer-provided insurance. Everyone agrees that's going to happen for millions of people, so they should eat their own cooking. And so when you're in the individual insurance exchanges, you don't get an employer contribution. So if you were to lose your...
So it's the employer contribution that is what you're trying to excise out of it.
Well, the statute excised it out. So that's gone from the statute.
From the rule.
From the administrative rule. So it's an illegal subsidy granted through the executive branch. And so whether it's a good policy or bad policy, you can't relieve burdens from people of a statute that Congress passed simply through executive order like that.
Now, I suppose that if you're at the lower end of the income chain on this, if you're eligible for the other subsidies,
sure.
Because the ordinary subsidies any other Americans entitled to,
absolutely. If you have a congressional staffer who has an income such that he or she could get a normal subsidy, that still exists. But you know, people at $180,000 a year don't get any subsidy going to the individual exchange, and nor should a member of Congress.
All right, that was part of the GOP plan, but in the meantime, something's happened. It's imploded in the GOP tonight. We expected a vote in the House, of which you are a member, but we understand that the Heritage Action came out and said that it doesn't do anything to Obamacare, and it put a lot of heat on some Republicans in the House. Is that right?
Well, that may be true in part. A lot of people that I talked to were supportive. I think, quite frankly, our amendment causes people to not want to support it because members are going to have to pay more. And there are people on our side and the Democratic side who don't like that. I think it's helpful in terms of the fight against Obamacare because if you have a statute that imposes burdens on society and then the politically connected can get delays, waivers, or what have you, then it makes it more difficult to address the problems with the law.
If the bill had come over from the House with the Vitter Amendment, the so-called Vitter Amendment in it, and it had gone over to the Senate, would you have expected that Senator Harry Reid would have put the Vitter Amendment, would have put the bill up with the Vitter Amendment for vote?
No, he certainly would have tried to resist it or tried to get it out. In fact, President Obama went so far as to issue a personal veto threat about this language today.
I mean,
it's amazing to me, and it makes it very clear. It makes it very clear how determined they are to protect the political elite in Washington.
Well, they say what will happen is that they'll have a brain drain or something if that's not, if the Vitter Amendment's part of it.
You know what the American people's reaction to that is?
I know it is. I get the email.
These are the brains that gave us Obamacare. These are the brains that are screwing up policy over and over and over again.
So I guess we don't have to worry about that. Anyway, well, tomorrow we'll see what happens in the House and the Senate.